3 damn suitcases though, man. Oh, how did I forget? While we're in Europe, we're gonna do Sweden too. We're not gonna skip Sweden. I've heard way too many good things. Yeah, they got some bad women in Sweden, and I heard there's really, 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 really friendly. Yeah, I don't like going to Europe in the cold, but I'm sacrificing it. And plus, you only live once.
Hi guys. So I wanted to, make a video yesterday about Austin saying that he was leaving Africa and not really leaving. He said he was like pausing his African tour for 30 to 90 days, something like that. But I didn't make the video, and to be honest, I didn't really believe it because this guy had a tendency to say that, oh, I have bought a ticket to go to Zanzibar, and then like 2 weeks later, it's like, oh, Zanzibar is cancelled. I'm going to Kenya. I have a ticket. I have bought ticket to go to Cape Verde, and then 2 days later, oh no, I'm just going back to Kenya. So I'm like, is it really real? Is it really real? Then I watched the video today and he is going to Romania. Now, this is the thing. Um, Once he leaves to Romania, there is absolutely no reason for African governments to let him back in. Absolutely no reason. You cannot say that he's good for tourism. I don't know how he could be good for tourism when he's saying that Africans are scammers and Kenyans. Well, if you think that he was not calling you a scammer, I mean, he said he calls. I think he has made a video on the member thing because he was talking about it in his life that he's gonna call you a scammer. So there is no reason to let him back in. He is, I mean, excuse me. I'm someone who believes that, we shouldn't care about the image of Africa in the West. But there are a lot of people who are saying that, oh, he's good for, he's promoting a positive image of Africa. He is not. I mean, he has been calling Africans scammers, saying that saying that Ghanaian women are materialistic, stuck up, and calling Zambian women ugly. There is no. I mean, he hasn't been promoting positive image, and the positive image he's being promoting is usually very ephemeral, right? He would say, I mean, he was saying that Kenya was the best country, Kenya was the best country, but I think now that he doesn't need Kenya anymore, he is kind of turning on Kenya, right? It's kind of funny because 2 or 3 days ago, he was actually like arguing with, like, there were people on his live or on Twitter, I forgot where it was, saying that Kenyan girls love white people, white men, but he was like, no, that's not true. He was fighting back, but now for some reason. He is actually promoting that narrative that Kenyan girls love white men, and I'm bringing that up to show you how he could flip on a dime. So this guy, Kenya is basically the only African country until, like, 2 3 days ago, that he was saying, he had nothing but positive things to say, but now he's slowly, turning on Kenya as well. So there is nothing good coming from him for Africa. I mean, okay, listen. Um, I do not believe any one person, any even group of people can do something positive for a country, a continent, or at least something of long lasting. But with this guy, it's not just that he's not doing positive things, which I don't expect him, but he's been damaging, right? He is being damaging for African girls. He's been damaging for harmful for African women. So this guy should not be let him back in. There is absolutely no reason to let him back in. I'm like, can someone tell me one good reason to let him back in? And I'm almost sure, I mean, look, immigration laws are one of the most, like, almost every country has, like, there are so many immigration laws in America, the same thing, like there are so many laws. In Kenya, I'm sure it's the same thing. Everywhere else it's the same thing, and I'm almost sure that every African country could find one rule in their country, in their immigration law, not to allow this guy back in Africa. I mean, if he wants to go to, maybe, the Maghreb, maybe to, those, white countries in North Africa, maybe he can go there. But we should not let him, in the non-Maghreb countries. He should not be let in Ethiopia for sure. I mean, Ethiopia should not let him in. Um, Neither should Kenya. Kenya should not let him in. There is absolutely no reason for Kenya to let him back in. He is going to destroy your image. I mean, I don't really think he is going to destroy your image, but because a lot of Kenyans say, he's good for your, country's image. That it's good. He's good for their country's image. But as we have seen him, the last few days, he is turning on Kenya. So he's not good for your country's image. Mm, so there is no reason to let him back in. And the other thing is, he was on live today, and a lot of the people on his chat were like, are you leaving African girls and going to white women? And I'm like, please, please no, because that is how he ended up. I mean, a lot of passport bros are being guilted into, going to Africa to, to show that they don't hate black women. Please don't do that, please, because it's not good for Africa. It truly is not good for Africa for this. I mean, these men hate black American women, and anyone who hates black American women is not going to like other black women. It's, uh, I have said this so many times. Whatever they hate in black American women, they're gonna hate in the in the black African women. So there is no reason to guilt these men, to guilt men like Austin into going to Africa. Like, let them go. This is like the perfect time. He's going to Romania, and this guy, I mean, this guy is this guy, I don't know, he wants to date white women so bad that he is kind of putting his life at risk, like, right, because he's talking about how East Europe is very white, and how, the people, like, you get in trouble for dating white women. And he told the story about Andrew Tate, and, this girl he dated in some East European country, and how the guys either beat him up, or the guys told the girl not to date him because Andrew Tate is, like, mildly black, like, remotely black. He doesn't even look black, right? And Austin was saying, if Andrew Tate could get in trouble for dating a white girl, I am not, I'm unambiguously black person. He is, you cannot mistake him for, a non-black man, right? And but he still is going, to go to Romania, which is an East European country, and date girls. And like, I'm like, okay, you're gonna risk. I mean, like, it is. Anyways, but that's none of our concern, right?
Honest truth. I am a little anxious. Jeffrey Rice, thank you for becoming a new member. Rob, thank you for becoming a new member as well. I am a little anxious about going to Eastern Europe. Not so much Western Europe, but Eastern Europe is very conservative, very post Soviet Union, very white. But being from the United States, where an all white city is not a good idea, thinking about going to an all white country, whew, yeah. So I definitely had to be careful out there. The content is not going to be You have to, especially if you're going to be with white women, you have to be somewhere where that's been accepted. You know what I mean? I don't know how accepted it is in Eastern Europe. I know dudes are doing it. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but you even said, I mean, you even seen Andrew Tate said that he was in, I think it was Moldova. And if you ask me, Andrew Tate looks white. I know he's mixed, but he looks white to me. Like I would have never known he was mixed and black until he said that. But he said some dudes stopped the women that he was with and told them to go home, and they started fighting Andrew Tate. So to me, I don't look a little bit of white at all. But yeah, that would be a thing. Somebody said neo Nazis are big in Eastern Europe. I could believe that.
Like, okay, but that is none of that's none of my problem. That's none of it's none of my problem, right? The the what we need to do right now is to make sure that this guy doesn't return to Africa, and Africa doesn't turn into we don't want Africa to be the new destination for uh, for this passport bros, because there is nothing good coming from that movement. That movement is really bad. It is about hating black women, and anyone who hates black women should never be allowed, in Africa, or, around African girls. And I'm almost sure that you could find some law that would ban this men from entering the continent, at least the black part of the continent. And he's not the only passport bro who hates black women that is in Africa. Yesterday, I saw this video from Oshay Duke Jackson. Oshay Duke Jackson is the the older version of Austin. Oshay Duke Jackson himself, he tried, to date in America. I don't know what happened to him. I mean, he hates black American women, and I don't know if it is because they wouldn't date him, or if he just hates them because he hates them. Then he went to Poland. He didn't succeed there. Either. Then he went to Brazil. It didn't work out for him to Brazil. In Brazil, then he went to Africa, pretending that, like, he tried to make it look like he went there because he's pro-Africa, because he loves black women, because he is Pan-African. He even has a dating show called you know um, the Pan-Africanist dating show. And with all that, yesterday he had this video. See, look how he framed it. So there is, Zimbabwe is a country of like 99% white black people, right? In Zimbabwe, the beauty queen in Zimbabwe should be a black person, a black woman. But a white girl is crowned Miss Zimbabwe. And instead of being offended, instead of being outraged by that himself, Oshay Duke Jackson, who claims to be a pro-black, he is framing the whole thing as an angry black woman story. And that tells you how much this guy hates black women. And there is no reason for Oshay Duke Jackson to be in Africa. Oshay Duke Jackson, to be honest, should be kicked out, or because these people leave the continent. Then when they leave the continent, don't let them back in. There is no reason for Oshay Duke Jackson to be in Africa. I mean, Oshay Duke Jackson is totally offensive to Africans. He had I mean, the way he talked about Africans is almost like we are zoo animals. Like, he talked about us instead of talking to us. Like 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, or I mean 2 or 3 days ago, he had a panel of only black Americans talking about Africans, as if like we are some zoo animals that we cannot talk about ourselves. So it is there is no reason for him to be there. He should be whenever he leaves the continent, he should not be allowed in back in. And the Africans have to be more selective in who they let in. And black women haters should not be let in there, because if they hate black women here in America, they're gonna hate black women there in Africa anyways. And Oshay Duke Jackson, and Oshay Duke Jackson is the number one enabler of Aston. Whenever people try to hold Aston accountable, Oshay Duke Jackson would go, he had a very large following, right? Unlike Aston, Oshay Duke Jackson is actually a verifiable, he had a large follower. He goes on his show and defends him. He will always make an excuse for Austin. So there is no reason, to have either Austin or his enabler, his number one enabler, Oshay Duke Jackson, in the continent. They should be, we don't even have to kick them out. I mean, Austin is going to leave soon, and uh, Oshay Duke Jackson leaves the continent regularly. Whenever he leaves, the next time he leaves the continent, um, just lock the door behind him, ban him, don't allow him. And, he is not doing anything for Uganda. He tries to make it look like, he is like, he is the best thing to happen for Uganda. He is not. Let me tell you guys. Okay, because not, one person cannot do anything. Two people cannot even do. Only the government, programs can do. Can change people's lives. Oshay Duke Jackson is not doing anything for Ugandans. He is always trying to, brag about how, how he is, you would almost think the way he talked about, how, all the things he's doing for Uganda, you think, he has, he is, feeding the half of Uganda. So no, there is no reason to, when right now that Aston has left, well, I mean, he's gonna leave in a few days. Once he leaves, uh, he should not be back in. And we know what countries he's gonna. I mean, unless he changes his mind, because he changes his mind. So like, this guy, he would tell you, next week I'm gonna do this, and then 3 days later he changed his mind. So he has now said that he is going. I think he was going to go to uh, South Africa, Ethiopia, Botswana, Angola. I okay, yes, but he has said, he has enumerated the countries he was gonna go uh, to when he returns. So hope like the best thing would be for the immigration to get him the hell out, the immigration not to let him in. But failing that, maybe we should, people like girls should make each other, should be aware of who he is. Girls' businesses, no business should be dealing with this guy. It's sad that some Kenyan company actually, allowed this guy to do a commercial, and what happened? He posted a picture of himself with a dark-skinned Kenyan girl. I think it's a screenshot, or maybe that's the ad picture. He posted it on his community wall. His colorist, anti-black woman followers attacked the girl so much that he had to delete it. By the way, it's not just him who hates black women. His followers, most of whom are black men, black American men, they hate black women too. I mean, you guys, whenever he said that, his donation went down when he came to Africa, because the black American guys do not want to see him with black women. They don't like his followers are anti-black women. And since he said he was gonna go to you know, he was gonna leave Africa, they have been celebrating. They're like, oh, we're gonna see, better looking women. We cannot wait. Africa, the girls in Africa are not good looking. Because, like I said, his followers are just as anti-black women as he is. And so there is really no reason for an African company to work with this anti-black man, anti-black woman man, and his followers who are also anti-black. They, the anti-black women, they are black women haters, and so there is no reason to work with him. So hopefully he will not return. My hope is that he goes to Europe and he falls in love with one European country, maybe like he falls in love with one European country and decides to stay there, and will never return to Africa, because I have this feeling, guys. I think Africa is going to be African girls are going to be the new Black American women. What I mean by that is he is going to be, attacking African girls the way he was attacking Black American women. He said that because he's a coward. He said that when he leaves Africa, he is going to even ramp up he's going to attack African girls even more.
Next question. When we gonna get the real Africa review once you leave? Yeah. Yeah. It's not gonna I mean what I've said is pretty much what I truly believe now, but I probably just can't say what I want.
And I think what was I gonna say? Um, so the attack is going to ramp up, right? It's already, he is already attacking African girls, but he's going to attack them even more when he goes to outside, when he leaves the continent. And here is the thing too. I think the PH attack, the way he attacks, is going to be, the way he does that to Black American women. I think he will start doing that to Black African girls, because on that, on that disgusting, white worship live he had, where he said, Latin women were like Latina women were like, almost God's gift to men. Someone asked him whose PH was good or whatever, and he said Latina, and I'm like, yeah, that this means that the next step is going to be like him, because when he talks about women's bad women, like the pH balance being off, like or women having smelly vagina or what vaginas or whatever, his followers love that. His followers, for some reason, because his followers, even though, I mean, today he showed the breakdown of his followers, his subscribers, and most of them are like middle-aged men. But even though they are middle-aged men, they love talking about, what vaginas smell like. And I'm like, anyways. And I think he knows that, and, Austin, everything he does is, whatever gets him more views, right? And he has figured out that, talking about pH balance gets him more views. And I think the new targets of the pH balance thing are gonna be African girls. Just watch. I could like, because so he like African girls are going to be attacked the way Black American girls were, and so yeah, so, and there is no reason for that to let that kind of person back into Africa, right? Anyways, anyway, but one thing too is once he leaves the continent, he is not going to be our concern. It's not going to be my concern, and there should be a way to ban, the passport pests like this Austin guy from Africa, right? Because he is not needed in Africa. He might not be bad for Africa, but he's definitely bad for African girls, and so we have to make sure that he doesn't he doesn't get entry back into the continent. So this is a very long video, but it's also I just have I had so much to say. Anyways, hopefully, hopefully this would be the last time we see him in Africa. And yeah, hopefully. Let me know what you think. Thank you. Bye bye.